Chapter 5, Yet Another Reality. Encountering Ogu was more than a revelation to Rudy, but it feels like Ogu had unleashed a burden of truth on Rudy's shoulders. Rudy had learned many things, unbelievable and straight out of the science fiction and fantasy world. Rudy had become aware of his true origins, that he is a prime. The concept of a prime is that he is some kind of a receiver and an oasis of information and energies from the prime reality. His secondaries are what many would call a soul group. His secondaries include humans, animals, plants, even the elements. However, because of the elusive powers that be, the cosmic neural networks that connect all the realms have been infested, intercepted and exploited, to the point that any information and energies coming from the prime reality is no longer reliable. Which caused the deity Ogu to meet him inside an undetectable rhinoceros consciousness to reveal Rudy's dark history. Rudy's daughter Malkia is in a coma. We have learned that his mission into the mysterious land was to save his daughter's life. But another stranger and unacceptable truth according to Ogu is that Rudy is also in a coma, and not just an ordinary one, but he has been in a coma for over 30 years. How is this possible? How could Rudy be in a coma while he is trying to save his daughter's life, who is also in a coma? To unravel these mysteries, we have yet to dig deeper into Rudy's origins. Yet another reality. As Ogu was speaking to me, my body started to vibrate. It was like a pulsation that comes and goes, it fades in and out. Slowly I started to lift up, everything became smaller and smaller. Ogu's forest was only a portion of a microscopic cell within a tiny creature when looking from higher above. And yet as we kept on lifting higher up, we resurfaced on yet another plane. We appeared in another place. This place has lots of dead bodies and broken machines. The machines seem to be very advanced and somehow very different from what I identify the machine. The small creature was like a rodent scraping for some food. Then she took me further away from that location. We were moving in a telescopic style where we glided from one place to another, seeing scenes magnifying and diminishing. We moved to the place where there were what seemed to be ancient, very ancient buildings with very large doors. It seemed like there were giants there. The height of the door itself was like 200 stories high. We shrunk in size and penetrated one of the holes. The hallway was massive, with strange writings and artistic ceiling like in a cathedral. There were giant statues. Everything seemed abandoned. We walked through a wall and appeared in one of the rooms. At first I didn't recognize there was a person laying there because of how massive this person was. Later I realized there was a giant body. I was the size of his ear in comparison to my size. After we glided higher up, I could see this giant person laying in what appeared to be a sleeping stone like those of ancient Egyptian, except this didn't have a top cap. It looked like a bathtub with different symbols and engraved statues on the sides. This giant body was laying on top of it. There was a depressed outline of this giant's body. There was something like fluid covering his body. He was clothed in what appeared to be like a tight suit with different markings and elegant symbols. If you asked me, I could easily tell you this individual was of great importance. Ogu told me this person is me. In a sense, I am what is left of him. I started to feel a tingling sensation on the center of my forehead. A glowing yellowish ring of light ejected from my forehead to that giant body. It shot out and entered into the forehead of that giant. Then I started to access his previous memories. The memory before he fell into great slumber. I accessed his memories like an observer. I was observing his memories like watching a movie. The Protector. Inside the memories of who I was eons ago before I turned into what I am, and these were the moments and memories of who was known as EULEED. We have been fighting this Third World War for over 45 years. I've always wondered if it could have been avoided. This life needs courage, loyalty, and honor. It indeed requires an anointment. As an anointed Overwatch, I must display strength, hope, and courage to my people. These are the virtues of the Prime. Any grains of weakness is the end of us all. I get sufficient bliss from our Divine Mother every time I commune with her. But sometimes it doesn't seem to be sufficient enough for me to sustain my people and myself. To be able to live through this time of great war. As an Overwatch, I have to perform special rejuvenation ceremonies to sustain my inner temples. These ceremonies, devotions, and taboos enable me to access and collect energies and wisdom from higher realms for myself and the secondaries. I can't do those ordinary devotions and regular diets anymore. My life as an Overwatch has totally transformed me. I have become something else. While I have lost so much of what I used to believe I was, I have also gained threefolds of what I thought I lost. It is such a great path. My body, spirit, and mind has transformed completely. I am able to commune with the beings of light and associate with them. I can see what others can't see. It is a huge step of ascension. Every commoner will assume attunement as an easy activation process. I was put to a lot of trials. Sometimes these trials mean if I fail it's an instant fall. I would lose all the ranks and talents I have gained. Staying focused for 3 consecutive days without any deviation of the mind is paramount. I was tethered to the unique substance. This substance is a very thin and light powder material that responds to your mental activities. Every single intention is divided into units and subunits. The mind is also categorized into similar units and subunits. These units are grouped according to color, density, temperature, forms and motion. Whenever there is a mental activity, these particles respond and react accord to that person's intentions. These particles can change their chemical state, they can change their mass, their temperature and structure according to the person's intention. If there are any hidden malicious intentions in one's mind, these powders will change their chemical state into very acidic. This results in a sense of irritation to your skin and becomes very uncomfortable. They are very precise and accurate. And if a person has positive and uplifting thoughts, the substance creates a warm and comfortable sensation. The substance will last inside your body for a couple of days after ingestion. This is used to maintain your body structure. Whatever form a person imagines in their minds, their body's shape morphs into that form. The main purpose of this exercise is to test your abilities for endurance and mental focus. I am turning 105 years old soon. Age and birthdays don't mean much these days. After the revelation of the series of sacred breathing techniques, anyone is able to live as long as they want, by simply spending a few moments practicing this regenerative breathing technique to regenerate their bodies. Ulaid was contemplating on these events while looking at the hundreds of his best lieutenants slumbering in the multitudes of sleeper pods. They have been fighting beside him for decades. It gives him closure and peace visiting these sleepers. Leaving the sleeper's dome, when Ulaid was on his way to visit the holistic priestess, he met one of the protectors. "May you guide us to our original nature, Your Grace." He saluted Ulaid, displaying the minor and progressive gratitude gesture. "Let the divine light through our divine mother guide us all." Ulaid accepted his salutation, and beamed the mild benediction. While he was projecting the benediction, he noticed some issues on his human energetic electrofield. These postures and salutations are a series of pauses and hand gestures. Through different poses and gestures the energy flows from one person to another. This is their tradition and custom. When an elder or a person of a statue meets with a member of their society, they offer these bands and clusters of blessings. These blessings energize an individual holistically, rejuvenating and adjusting their well-being. The higher you are in your rank, the less you get these blessings. However, you can combine your bliss with other higher-ranked members of your society to generate yet beneficial and constructive clusters of energies. Your emblem's mechanism is weakening, your bio-radiance seems fine, not too bright to overstimulate you during combat and not too dim to lag you. But all of your energy vortices on the eyes of your temples seem overstimulated. You should go see the ambient synthesizer to get a complete analysis. Remember your initiation, these emblems depend entirely on your mental and emotional stability. The sources of power come from within. If you have personal issues, you must go to the oracle. She will give you clear insights. He addressed these issues to the protector. "Thank you, Your Grace. I will go to see the oracle after I finish what brought me here. We have attained the milestone of the cyclonic thunder without the need for elongated energizing exercises." "The cyclonic cannons are good to go, Your Grace," the protector replied. "All right, how about the shields? Have you been able to generate them without the stance postures?" Ulaid asked. "The trainer is still working on those modalities, but when I was there they were retraining the flotation techniques," the protector replied. "Tell them to prepare a demonstration. I am going to inspect it." Ulaid interrupted. "Yes, Your Grace." The protector left. The holistic priestess. Ulaid soon went to visit their holistic priestess Malika. She has been creating these new modalities and techniques to revive the sleepers and try to improve the pre-sleepers inhibitor. And this was the conversation between Ulaid and Malika. Bliss from her grace. Ulaid saluted her, giving a posture of majestic divinity prime. May it fill us in all our trials and tribulations. She accepted Ulaid's salutation, marrying and completing the majestic divinity secondary. Ulaid, have you got any new insights on your work? He asked her. Malika, I have been able to infuse these invisible dusts with sub-spirit consciousness that can stop the oxidation process from the infamous Gajub's infectious rust, she replied. Ulaid, what about those swarms of wasps? Isn't that among their best weapons? It took 3 guys to create a high-voltage plasma shield to scare them off. If I was a solo, my consciousness would be in a regeneration pod right now, he asked. Malika, yes, but now the Gajubs are not as aggressive to us because they realize we are fighting the same enemy. There are rumors that they want to trade secrets with us. They want to become our allies so we can defeat the deceptive Rosenthals. The Rosenthals don't appear to be that powerful, but the conspiracy theorists suggest that they orchestrated this war and that they branched from what was once called Nazis. The Rosenthals are very well organized and are vicious manipulators. If we can defeat them, the war would end. That's what the conspiracy theorists believe. She suggested. Ulaid, no, you see, the Gajubs defeated the Nazi because they came as an object of surprise. They were out of the chessboard. The Rosenthals were defeated down to their knees. The Gajubs are very fast and unpredictable. The unpredictability of the Gajub is what defeated the Rosenthals, as the Rosenthals are people of plans and predictions. Who would have thought in the midst of primitive and dark continent like Africa, have such skills and abilities to defeat such a powerful regime? If it wasn't for them, the whole world would be on its knees. The Gajub decided to reveal what was hidden as a last resort. Ulaid answered. Malika, the Gajub's faction is a much larger territory consisting of minor societies. According to rumors, the Uaganga society is one of the societies within Gajub's territory. It is much ancient, a remnant of much older civilization than the ancient Egyptians. The legend suggests that there was a great war when someone nuked entire ancient Africa. At the time, people were made of pure bodies of light. They were ether beings, highly spiritual with supernatural abilities. But the aftermath was devastating. It literally de-evolve a person. It blocks your energetic channels and your ability to access higher dimensional worlds. As a result, you forgot who you are. You become a biological entity, surviving on food, and serving the needs of the flesh. These weapons disable your glands and internal organs' higher functions. Remember, before the disclosure, we used to see humans' internal organs as food processors? We didn't know internal organs are something sacred, conscious with intelligence, she continued. Ulaid, that story seems far-fetched, but there may be some truth to that because we can't know the origins of Uaganga's society, as it seems they are the ones supplying the Gadgubs' information and the Gajub protects them with their lives. Besides the blockbuster movie, Wakanda is based on Uaganga society. That was before the Great Disclosure. But now, I have more concerns about the Chapchaps. They have the largest army than us all, they multiply exponentially and they are fundamentalists. If they win the war, we will all be converts. You know what that does to your biofield? This will disconnect us from our ascent deities. We will kiss goodbye to the idea of human rights, privacy, and capitalism. I hardly remember the peaceful days. Ulaid continued. Malika, imagine if it wasn't for those great disclosures, we would still be living in a fake world of peace and harmony. Living not knowing all the information given to you is being doctored. The governments purposely put some substance into the water and sky to dull us, to put us into a mental state where we hardly question anything. You have to give some credits to the Rosenthals, they have the psychological power to control the masses. She suggested. Ulaid, I guess someone didn't get paid properly, then they revealed the secret. He joked. Malika, so we were basically someone's livestock. They used to reset civilizations after every 200 years. We were harvested, experimented and manipulated. Deep down, I never bought the idea of the progress of technology or the evolution of species for millions of years. I always knew we were recycled from what came before us. We are the fallen ones, from the glory to shame, divine to filth. All knowledge taught to us was only recycled and regulated so we can never connect to our ascent deities, she continued. Ulade, sometimes it is not worth remembering those events, we are grateful to have come out of that situation. Malika, I am still having those visions of the 9 crowns, I feel like this war is all about the 9 crowns. It is the highest secret, something so powerful hidden even from the highest deity of deities. But I don't know what it all means. Our Divine Mother instructed me not to talk about it as it's something ancient, it is beyond the 9 realms, it's something very sacred, it might bring great tribulations among our people. She brought that topic again. Ulade, but how could it be? How can something so high be revealed to you and not our deity? He asked. Malika, most of these visions are beyond the 9 realms out of our mother's territory, I never noticed how I got there, I just see myself already in that place. She continued. Malika is my earthbound, with her grace we bonded. We spirit walk together. What she knows I know, what she feels I feel, I have been honoring this bond for quite some time now. The Great Disclosures. It started as a regular viral video on social media on the account named The Great Disclosures. This person was explaining how simple it is to know your friend's secrets. He said the easy way to know what secret your friend is keeping from you is to simply gaze right at the center of their eyes with a blank mind. You gaze by facing your palms with your friends. The video was about 6 minutes long, the instruction showed how to unlock your friend's secrets. And he said that without doing anything, just gazing at your friend's eyes about a foot apart for a little over 5 minutes. What will happen is some ideas will start to surface in your mind, but you must keep on leaving your mind blank and keep gazing into your friend's eyes. As time continues it will reach a moment where you become confused between what your thoughts are and your friends. He continued to say that your mind starts to merge with your friends. This was what he called mental entanglement. At this stage the one with stronger will starts to take the lead. And if you wait a little longer the 2 persons forgets won't be able to differentiate their identities, they become one mind. If you snap out of this trance, both individuals will automatically know each other's deeper secrets. The video gained popularity because it was simple and easy for people to try it at home and share their experiences. Later the same individual came up with other simple tricks, which could not be explained. For example, they recorded videos of a few weeks ahead of time with future dates and events. They claimed they were able to jump into the future and come back for a short period of time. There were other videos of places that were hard to explain what kind of objects or items they were. This channel gained popularity very quickly. Millions of followers and everyone was talking about this channel. But it never revealed who was behind that channel. The individuals behind that channel claimed to possess some information that would shatter the reality. A week later this social media account started publishing a series of short publications. These publications consisted of some principles and general information of people. The information seemed very simple but it was as if this information completes most of the unanswered questions, mysteries and science. It was from the origin of life to the reality of the universe, to the meaning of life. Almost everything a human could ever wonder about was answered in those simple publications. The publications themselves consisted of 24 original issues on which each issue had about 5 to 11 papers. As of this moment we are the result of that disclosure. We shattered what was once called a reality to how we live now. These publications caused riots, financial collapse and many government structures collapsed. Because what was in those publications revealed the true nature of man. So much for the globe Earth running on the space aimlessly. Flat Earth movement was what catapulted the questioning of our reality. After the Great Disclosures we understood the structure of our universe. It was a relief and caused war at the same time. The universe consists of layers of different densities. A matrix of bubbled blobs. Some would call these alignments of these bubbles a flower of life. Each bubble is a real world based on principles and rules of their center and original bubble which is their prime reality. These bubbles align themselves according to the rate of frequency. The very inner and center layers are where the life of that specific cluster world reality originates and the outer bubbles are of denser frequencies. And yet these prime centers realities have other higher dimensional prime realities that most are unaware of. The spaces between these bubbles forms channels and gateways from one reality to another. These are like the light frequencies from below infrared to beyond ultraviolet, but they are cyclical in nature. It means the infrared lights don't keep going on forever. It reaches a point where they eventually meet with ultraviolet continuation. From the point of origin of one bubble world circling around, you will be jumping from one parallel reality to another. These are parallel worlds, where each reality is similar but slightly different. Moving sideways from the center outwards or inwards, you get different dimensions, where beings made up of either higher density or lower density resides. Thanks to Chap-Chaps we can phase into some of these dimensions. They have had this secret for centuries. Recently they shared it after the Great Disclosure. They have this material when mixed on any glass. If a proper vibrational frequency is applied to this glass, we are able to view what is on the other dimensions. When a proper dose is applied to anyone's blood, with a special musical tone, a person is able to go into these dimensions through dreams. Now we know the actual structure of the universe. The Rosenthal. There are 9 factions in total. 4 of these factions are in conflict. This was something the world didn't know about before the Great Disclosures. For many years humans were kept in ignorance, not knowing that there are groups of different races living among them, and that there is a silent operation and activities among these groups. After the Great Disclosures, Earth humans discovered that their origins are far more complicated than what they have been taught. Among the Great Disclosures, humans discovered there are 9 factions. Every faction has its own ascent deity. That's why in the Bible's Old Testament is the book about obedience, devotion and faith. The Great Disclosures were the first breakthrough of layers of illusion. Every faction is specialized in a unique set of skills and crafts. This is favored by their geographical location, the type of race, and above all, the nature of the clan of their ascent deity. It is these sets of skills that prevent one faction to exterminate another one. Because once one faction is destroyed, it is irreplaceable. And one faction cannot survive without the skill set of another. Among the 9 factions, Rosenthals are very well versed in human psychology. For this reason, they make good leaders. And a hell lot of manipulators. It is believed the leader of the Rosenthals sketched a plan to overthrow their ascent deity. However, the plan didn't go well. This leader is in exile while still running his operations secretly. It was about this time when the Great Disclosures came into effect, which caused the Third World War as we know it. Because the deceptive Rosenthals wanted to stay in power, to keep people in ignorance. About 15 years ago Rosenthals had come up with a psychological weapon, a type of particle gas that when released it colonized your nervous system. Because of our attainment and our superior understanding of movements of energies, our biological bodies and armored suits can't be damaged easily with mortal weapons. We have embedded sacred symbols from our ascent deity that are not easily penetrable. This venomous particle gas induces someone into a coma-like sleep when a victim is exposed to that gas. We have been able to reduce its effects, to the point that its fatality is not instant, but once you fall asleep, after being exposed to that gas you will never wake up again. The molecules of this gas can't be detected by our conscious-infused fluids. Because these deadly fumes when inside a human's body have the ability to camouflage as other natural bodily sentience, they are activated when someone falls asleep. For this reason, we don't know exactly who is affected and who is not affected. For this reason, our ascent deity urged us not to take the risk of falling asleep, as we don't know exactly how many will wake up after they sleep. We keep ourselves up. I myself haven't slept for over 10 years now. We have inhibited our ability to fall asleep. We can only slow down mental activities to a certain level, but we don't fall asleep entirely. Because of this we have to also let other organs in our system shut down entirely, and other areas of our brain so we can regenerate it, but consciousness never goes to sleep. However, we understand it is our fate to eventually fall asleep as human consciousness has sleeping circles. We have only postponed these natural circles for a very long time, which will someday without a notice claim its rest. I remember there was a documentary about Haitian who was considered dead for over 10 years. Later he came to his sister telling her he was made a zombie by witchcraft. No thanks to Gadjib's expertise. The Rosenthal's cunning secret spies were able to infiltrate and manipulate one of their chief shaman's daughter, who exposed the secret formula. This secret formula is able to put a victim in this state where close friends and family will consider them dead, but these victims are deceptively alive and well, highly suggestible and manipulatable. It is through this disastrous Gajub's voodoo dust the deceptive Rosenthals have been able to modify and weaponize it. And now we are all suffering because of this. The algorithm. Our great Divine Mother revealed to us that once you fall asleep, you become trapped. You become trapped in a coma-like state, where the Rosenthal's algorithm entraps your consciousness as a hostage inside this algorithmic artificial virtual world. Phase 1: Entering the algorithm. When a captor is in the first entrapped state, their mental activities display a random eye movement, REM, as if they are dreaming. Then this algorithm creates a similar but alternative simulated reality, coincides with our reality. In this dreamlike reality, the victim's consciousness is manipulated remotely by these dust particles, which sends and receives information from their central algorithm networks. Once the victims are at the gates of this virtual world, the algorithm begins to suggest some ideas to its victims, so that it can lure them to accept and enter into its simulated and illusory world. It suggests some treacherous ideas to trap a victim into consenting to enter in its virtual world, where if the victim accepts to enter, then it will have gained more control of its victims. Evil as they may be, Rosenthal's understands the universal principle of free will, where whenever they violate this principle they will face consequences. So it makes sure a victim is willingly accepted to enter into this simulated world by choice and not by force, but by being manipulated into accepting to enter inside this algorithmic simul virtual world. The algorithm possesses special systems and subroutines to protect a victim's consciousness from exiting. It slightly shuffles from what is real to fiction, so that the mind cannot recognize it is in a dream-like world. You may dream you woke up and there was an attack, and suddenly you discovered that you were fighting for the wrong side of the war, and that the Rosenthals were the good guys trying to save you from a cult. That is phase 1. Once it successfully convinces you that you are not dreaming, it then starts changing your memories slightly, shuffling your identity and your friends' and family's identities. For example, your daughter might be your wife, or your wife might be your daughter, your last name might be replaced with your enemy's first name, etc. Your mind recognizes these identities, places and items. But it is a fake reality based on your real life, and it is wrongly identified. Once you enter into that virtual world, your life becomes a continuation of your actual life, which can be based on the memory of a certain moment of your life. That means if you were a famous athlete, who broke their arm or leg and couldn't play anymore, in the virtual world the story may begin from the moment where the algorithm suggests that there was a cure for your disability and now you are back into your glamorous life. All the experience you had during your disabilities are replaced as a mere imagination or just a dream. And that you have really woken up from that nightmare. If you accepted that reality, then you have consciously consent to enter into the algorithmic simulated world, and are willing and accepting to live in that life. The process itself can take a few seconds to decades depending on the strength of a person's will and determination, but eventually they give in and enter into the algorithm's simulated world. There are some rare cases where it happens that an individual is not complying to enter into the virtual world. The algorithm leaves them in a coma state where they can't wake up, but the only choice is to enter into that virtual world. Phase 2. Memory readjustment. The memory readjustments are placed on your mental blind spots. The mental blind spots are very fast and short moments where your consciousness is not aware, the moments you are not paying attention. For example, it takes time for light to travel from the sun to Earth. Usually it's about 7.98 minutes. However, we never notice this. A person's nervous system takes time to process any information before they make a choice or reaction. There is usually a moment of delay, a processing time when your mind is processing information. That is where the algorithm takes advantage of this fraction of time to readjust your memories. This is so you will never suspect anything is out of place. And because you are inside algorithm's virtual world, it can twist reality as it pleases to give you a proof of reality. It can create locations, new identities and plant fake memories. This is the second phase to burrow you deeper into its virtual world, the readjustment. These memory implantations and readjustment are purposefully, for later time, so it is able to manipulate you and barricade you from realizing you are inside a dream-like state. A human consciousness also undergoes rhythmic cycles where sometimes it might be at its peak of awareness and when it is completely unconscious. Because of these cycles, Rosenthal's scientist has learned to deceive by placing the virtual world to accommodate these cycles. The algorithm downloads and stores your entire real memory. There is a very secure location where all the actual human events and individual lives are stored. These real and actual information are stored on a place which is an encrypted alternative reality. It means these locations no known humans that exists inside algorithm's simulated world is ever able to reach there. Even between the 9 factions, no one really knows the locations of these libraries. These real accounts are very valuable assets for the Rosenthals. The algorithm is able to alter your memories, the things you like the most, your moral values, your self-concept, etc. It twists facts to fiction so that your subconscious mind cannot detect any anomalies or so you cannot have any mental conflicts. This algorithm is very fast. It can outnumber your couple of dozen next moves before you even form that idea inside your mind. For this reason, almost every human computational abilities are dwarfed by this mechanism. The Rosenthal's algorithm went even further by computing and predicting your entire probable life and all your probable actions with a ready-made counteraction. That means every single decision you could possibly ever make in your entire life is already put into consideration, and if there are any potential threats to the algorithm, you will be highly monitored. This is on every individual level and all victims under the domination of the algorithm. It means it predicts all possibilities of interactions between 2 people, 3 people and all people within the system. So your possibility of finding the truth is 1/1,000,000,000%, which is rounded up as 0%. The only reason we are still alive is our Divine Mother instructed us to entirely abandon the use of mental reasoning and deduction. We don't plan anything, we use intuition and work with energetics. Phase 3, the quarantine and the gatekeepers. The Rosenthal's fast quantum computational algorithm is able to predict all the possible outcomes of your external actual environment while your body is asleep so that it can suppress and neutralize these real external experiences of your physical body that may interfere with you within the dream world. Because your body is still getting information from the real world. The consciousness is too vast and broad to be easily maintained inside containers and manipulated. The Rosenthal's algorithm has to maintain a certain level of the reality-based simulation world that is backed up by someone's actual life. In the real world while your body is asleep, those who are living in the real world and taking care of your body may try to save you by waking you up. And will certainly do so by doing things to your body. For example, they may try to wake you up by slapping your cheek. In that dream world, the algorithm, while your conscious mind is trying to figure that out in an instance of the mental blind spot, it will create a scene, where a wind may blow your tie on that cheek, or a bee may fly on that cheek. While trying to catch it, you accidentally hit your own cheek. This will have to solve the problem of you trying to question that sensation of someone hitting your cheek from the actual real world. These sub-algorithms distract a victim from contemplating or questioning their reality by offering bonuses, reminding them of what they have achieved inside that fictitious world. The bonuses like having a family, accomplishment at work and many other good things, that will keep you focused on that reality. For example, if you start meditation in that dream world, a lost ex-girlfriend might call you, your work might call you to give you a promotion and many other activities that stir you away from finding the truth. However, there are some victims with very stubborn and strong will and consciousness where they still feel deep down in their guts that something is wrong. That is when the algorithm created phenomenon like dreams, conspiracy theories, mysteries, myths, imaginations, jokes, fictional work, entertainments, etc. This way the rest of the people would not take this person seriously at all. But when they persist, they are either sent into prisons, they lose everything and become homeless, they are sent into mental institutions for readjustments and corrections. That is why they are called correctional facilities. And if they persist, they are killed by accidents, diseases or cold-blooded. And then their memories are wiped clean to be recycled as new babies with a new life. There are also very rare and special cases where some victims outsmart the algorithm, they escape these mental institutions, they escape prisons, they master the streets while always on a run. It means they can't be killed easily while they keep spreading the truth. Because the algorithm consumes a lot of energy when a group of people begin to question the nature of reality. It is best for the algorithm to neutralize the problem as fast as possible before it overloads the entire system. So then when such a situation occurs, these victims are called to meet the authorities, or the algorithm would appear in that individual in a dream or physical state and offer to make deals like, "I can give you superpowers," or "I can make you live forever." Because the algorithm has the ability to manipulate what its victims perceive and has the ability to control the victim's body, it can enable an individual to have fake superpowers by the use of their technology and nanobots. In these situations is where you hear statements like making a deal with the devil. But these deals usually range from acquiring an unlimited supply of wealth to having superpowers like resurrecting your loved ones and many other tempting deals. Prisons, streets, primitive societies, and mental institutions are the locations where someone can easily exit the algorithm-simulated world. Our Divine Mother calls it a slumber failsafe mechanism, is also known as gatekeepers. They will destroy or reward our victims with messages of hope or emergency so they will never wake up. This is the third phase of the quarantine, where it makes sure you never exit its domination. Phase 4. The extraction of victims' consciousness. When the toxic dust hacks a victim's mind, and remotely manipulate the consciousness. A victim's consciousness will then be extracted and projected into an entirely different physical body without the victim's awareness. The victim's consciousness is projected into avatars. These avatars are of low-quality breeds. They are synthesized out of degraded biomechanical materials which are infused with nanobots that can control and manipulate the organic material inside a body. They can make a person sick, they can make a person hallucinate, they can activate cancer and many other unspeakable things just to keep their victims in fear and control them easily. In their illusory simulated world, these lab-grown bodies, because the Rosenthals were not able to disable all the genetic functions, there are many enigmas where they don't understand why humans don't use 100% of their brain, they don't understand why their DNA has 12 strands of DNA or junk DNA, and many other biological anomalies that the inhabitants of Rosenthal's simulated world scientists can't explain. Because the Rosenthals were wasting so much energy on a virtual world operation, they devised a plan to reuse an underground facility from the world before the Great Disclosures where they were doing research on humans. This facility is a combination of the mechanical world that is semi-simulation. These coma victims' consciousness will be projected into a different biological bodies, and begin living inside that simul-mechanical reality, working inside it and running a normal life without even realizing what had just happened to them. Their lives will be highly monitored and regulated. We suspect most of Rosenthal's army is made up of these victims' consciousness because they will never know their true identity, where they came from and what they are fighting for. This is the fourth phase, when the algorithm projects its victim's consciousness into another physical body. This is when a person's vital signs are working perfectly but the brain displays a catatonic state, that they are in a coma-like state. At this stage we take their bodies inside the pods hoping they would wake up one day. We have created a special mechanism that rejuvenates their bodies without the need for consuming food. Someone from the world before the awakening would have thought, why not just use artificial intelligence and robots to do the jobs for the Rosenthals? The answer is simple, as there aren't enough raw materials and artificial intelligence consumes way too much energy while people's consciousness consumes way less energy. The victim's sensory input information is controlled and manipulated easily. Because at this state now the algorithm has total control over a victim's avatar. After the extraction and transfer of victim's consciousness, the algorithm is able to decide and intercept what the victim is experiencing. For example, the algorithm is able to intercept what a victim is perceiving by twisting that image a little bit, like if you saw something out of the ordinary, maybe a guard had left a piece of their advanced technology in a certain location, the algorithms would automatically adjust what you are seeing. If you see a very ancient statue that is not in history books, the algorithms would automatically adjust it as a piece of rock. Maybe the first time you saw something, but when you try to look the second time, with a blink of an eye you realized, ooh, it was just a rock. These less divinely biological bodies are made up of genetically modified organic material which is synthetic and has atrophied from most of their higher bodily functions. This inhibits an individual from being able to access higher faculties of body functions and the cosmos networks in general, which makes whoever dwells in them easier to manipulate and distort their reality. I remember the first versions of these algorithms, where when we used to have computers, when you try to search for conspiracy theories, they would distract you with a result of negating information to deviate your attention away from the subject. At that time people thought it was harmless, now look how it blinds people. Sometimes we would see breaking news of new inventions, the type of invention that would revolutionize how we live our lives, then a couple of days later there would be delays and delays, then a big corporation would buy off the inventor and eventually the big corporations would pay lots of people to write articles, makes videos and post on social media accounts to neutralize and change the claims. The type of history planted in the victims' minds is that they are simply an accidental product of evolution, and that they are a rare accidental products only found on this planet. When these victims' life expires, they tell stories of life after death and near-death experiences, how they encounter these beings of light, with grace and love. They come back telling people a message of hope so people could believe. But the truth behind these phenomena is only a construct of the algorithm. It made it that way during the process or recycling the consciousness into new bodies. Because the consciousness naturally goes into the stage of stasis. During this stage is when a body expires and decomposes, and then it renews itself into a new bodies. It is during this stasis stage that victims are vulnerable to know the truth, to know that they are living in a simul-mechanical world and that the body they inhabit is not theirs but artificial bodies. The Rosenthal has solved this problem by redirecting their consciousness into the dream like a holographic virtual world, where they are then recycled back as newborn babies or artificial animals. Phase 5. The point of no return. Sadly, if the victim's consciousness has been used and recycled so many times, these consciousness begins to decay. The consciousness is invisible to human eyes because of nature of dimensions they originate from, but after being reused over and over they slowly slow down their high-frequency vibrations and become a visible light where they become like glowing orbs. Then this consciousness slowly losing their essence until they become like crystals, physical crystals. When they are on this stage they have many uses. They could be used to build stronger military armor, some have the ability to grow, but they haven't been able to restructure the patterns inside these decayed souls as of yet. This is the last and final phase when a consciousness decays into a crystal-like material, and their true original bodies at our location turns to dust. This is the greatest pain for us all as it is considered the death of the mind and body. The person is lost forever. What a demonic act. The emerging of natives. You have to understand that because this virtual world is constructed based on physical laws and universal principles, they discovered that there are some anomalies that can't be explained as well. Where they noticed the emergence of natives, these natives just appeared in their simulated world. The Rosenthals don't understand them clearly where they came from or how they even got there. But they manifested inside their algorithm simulated world. They live a very simple life and are highly spiritual beings, with metaphysical abilities to access higher truths. Life is abundant in the universe, and life itself doesn't discriminate. The natives' biological bodies are anatomically different from the victims' synthetic bodies. The Rosenthals have tried to eliminate the natives for decades. They tried to enslave them but has always never been easy to assimilate these natives. It was not easy because they have the abilities to disappear and reappear anywhere instantly. They have the ability to camouflage, they have the ability to shapeshift and many other abilities that are out of algorithm functions. The Rosenthals have realized that these natives have a free will, which is a universal principle. And also most of their power comes out of the ground earth. If these natives are disconnected from the ground earth they begin to lose their powers. Rosenthal can't violate the universal principle of free will. What they did is offering them shoes with a secretly attached contract that if you wear shoes offered by Rosenthals you become part of them, you become their slaves. These shoes have non-conductive materials. These materials disconnect the natives from the ground earth, where the natives lose a sense of direction and knowledge. Then they become dependent on the algorithm. In order to maintain the level of secrecy, the Rosenthals have just decided to leave the natives in their territories and declare it as an inhabitable and harsh environment. It is through these locations a person is able to exit the algorithm, but after education, and high securities on these locations no one is able to access them. The Rosenthal have built private institutions, and government-restricted locations where they know an individual can gain access to the natives' territories. Ascent deities. After the Great Disclosures, people discovered that when a group of 9 people comes together with an idea and start to live by those ideas, a deity is conceptualized. These deities are in a symbiotic relationship with their children. The more people join and offer their true devotion to this union, the more powerful their deity becomes. Any group of united individuals can never have more than one deity, however there may be sub-deity and minor deities within an deity, but they are one deity. Some people within that group, depending on the levels of their devotion, may be devoting to lower deities within the higher deity. You will find out that most leaders in any given group are more devoted to the higher deity and ordinary people are devoted to lower deity. Because the lower deities have less strict rules compared to higher one. The deceptive Rosenthals knew this and were manipulating people by using their lives and emotions to create deities for their own advantage. They created television shows, video games, and many other activities to gain more power. This ascent deity becomes stronger when the groups of people are sincerely devoted to their ways of life. These deities in return are able to penetrate into higher realms of existence to bring knowledge, wisdom, natural abilities and spiritual development to their people. When they grow stronger, they start to appear in people's dreams, visions, and eventually they can manifest physically. Devotion and worship are very important to the Kabbalese Uleads people. They chant to create smaller deities for a variety of tasks. They perform ceremonies to plant deities as emblems, they do devotions and taboos to keep the deities in their bodies. They have mastered this craft of deities and living energies. It is through these deities that its children are able to ascend and become like that deity. If the group of people is of bad behaviors, their deity would mirror exactly the habits of those groups of people. This is how the demons, the demigods, are formed. The algorithm is among Rosenthal's mid-major deity, and it manifests in physical form as a very advanced quantum computing mechanism. Our Divine Mother has informed us that the Rosenthals are secretly manipulating the victims into ceremonies, taboos and rituals of the deceptive Rosenthal's dark immortal deity. Our brothers and sisters who have fallen into slumber, their consciousness is used as a sacrifice to feed these dark immortals. She can't observe clearly because there is a dark force preventing her from seeing the clear picture. And maybe this is the real reason they use human consciousness inside the secret underground domes. Google, Facebook, Twitter are good examples of embryonic deities. They are still in embryonic stages. The structure of reality consists of activities, matter, and space. There is a fluid matter. This fluid matter consists of a complete set of activities. For example, a collection of all activities necessary to build a house is one indivisible fluid matter particle. But this fluid matter also has smaller particles which are smaller sets of events or activities within the processes of building a house. Painting a house, for example, is a microfluid matter. Such as roofing, framing, etc. This fluid matter is the type of material that makes up a deity. That's why devotion and worship are very important for a deity. The Gajub faction has mastered this art of creating fluid matter particles. If they put this substance somewhere, those types of activities will manifest on that specific area. This makes them very powerful shamans. As if you want a good relationship, wealthy life, become adorable by people or prevent certain types of people from harming you. The Gajubs are the faction to consult. Looking inside Ulead's memories and knowledge, this was at the surface of his mind. Which some of it was embedded on the obelisk inscribed with symbols, whereupon coming into physical contact with it, every being is able to see that world's history and access other information from the cosmos. The Avatar. How to infiltrate the infiltrated. After having a deep conversation with Malika, Ulead went back to his pod. To Avatar his avatar, who he named Ugabi. Ugabi is the name of the last remaining bark on the tree, after the entire forest had been consumed by fire. I named my avatar this name as a symbol and a beacon of hope, the last bullet that will bring peace to us. These avatars are able to operate independently, they are able to act as if they are human beings, they will carry their mission to their last energy. They are able to wait patiently, executing their tasks in secret. These avatars are able to forward or reverse their aging, they are able to pause on the aging process, and when compromised, they are able to destroy the connection from their avatar to disguise as if they are independent. We couldn't simply sneak these avatars into the Rosenthal's secret victims' simulated worlds inside the domes, we did not even know its exact location. Above all, these simulated worlds are impenetrable. But our Divine Mother brought us an undetectable solution, where some volunteers had to sacrifice their consciousness, to sneak the knowledge on how to form these avatars inside Rosenthal's secret simulated reality victims' domes. Our Divine Mother is able to perceive how their algorithm isolates the victim's memory. She guided the volunteers before they entered the algorithm's virtual world to live their lives in a certain pattern. When each individual life patterns are combined together, the volunteers are able to subconsciously recall the names of these avatars. The names of avatars are songs. These songs within them contain sophisticated vibrations patterns, on which will initiate a formulation of these avatars. Because these victims' bodies are preserved in our location, our Divine Mother has given us musical keys and the art of massaging on different parts of the sleepers' bodies. These music and massages are performed in a specific sequence to the victims' sleeping bodies. These sequences and musical tones are unbreakable patterns that are silently and subconsciously triggered under the victim's activities to build the parts of avatars. Not on the conscious level, but in a settled slow pace, these sequences operate on the loopholes within the algorithm. The musical tones are actually fluid matter. When they live their lives in a certain way, they call upon these avatars. They manifest these avatars by simply living their lives in a specific pattern. The infiltration takes years, even decades, because we have to prepare the person to give birth to one avatar. They have to do specific meditational exercises, live their lives in a certain way, until they produce the avatar inside algorithm. Most of the best avatars and easier way is to bring them through the natives. Because the algorithm doesn't have much control over the natives, it is through this way, by creating a fake victim situation where a native is captured by the Rosenthal in the shoe traps to enter in their system. But who is captured is usually not a native, but they are Kabbalah's avatars. The Kabbalahs are able to initiate communication with those in the slumber, in a very peculiar way. Their method is easy to be confused by the Morse code. It is similar methods but not the same. What the sleepers do is they give these twitches, which are then decoded into messages. This method, however, the Divine Mother doesn't want to use anymore. It is easier for the Kabbalahs to detect the energy signature and chemical state of their body fluids. Through this way they are able to easily decode and send and receive messages from inside algorithm's simulated world. This is the pilot program, devised by their deity. By trying to infiltrate inside these simulated worlds inside Rosenthal's underground domes. To consciously try to awaken people. The gateways to enter inside the algorithm is through psych wards, prisons, and in the streets. And the isolated natives' villages where the population is not highly monitored compared to highly developed cities. Most of the addictive personalities we have observed are punished by this algorithm system because these victims already had a glimpse of truth, but are not able to wake up because the system is redirecting them back into the system. Prisons, mental institutions, and isolated villages are exiting and entry points. However, they are highly guarded by the algorithm. This is where the algorithm plants a person in their system. They can plant an individual even in the middle of the story. If you didn't have a father inside the system, suddenly you will remember your father was in prison for a long time, you never wanted to see him again, and now you want to give him a second chance. Then it will sneakily plant some memories of you and your father before prison, and this individual who is being reassigned as a lost father figure will remember the similar memories. This is to integrate similar people into your life so you feel more at home and to reduce the cost of generating new story scripts. Some cult leaders have had the truth, but the algorithm systems turn them into murderers and manipulators so as people may never believe in such groups. The algorithm makes them forget the purpose. The only way for the victims to win this is by overloading the algorithmic systems because it consumes a lot of energy to redirect a conscious back to the dream world. At this point Ulaid had successfully planted Ugabi inside Rosenthal's simulated virtual world. Ugabi migrated as a victim of war from their version of Africa. With his athletic abilities, intelligence and ability to follow orders, he had advanced into their version of American secret agent programs. Ulaid is able to access him during his sleep unnoticed to see his progress. Falling into deep slumber. Malaika walked into Ulaid's room, finding Ulaid sleeping. Ulaid, are you resting? Checking his pulse. He has heartbeats. Yulaid. Don't sleep. Ooh no, he had fallen into slumber. He was our only leader. I never expected you to leave me without a goodbye. I have learned so much from you. Now we are only 5 crew left for this generation. We need you. Now I have to consult our great mother Ogu to know what to do. I have to infiltrate the algorithm. I have to go there to get Yulaid out. I have to know what is my relationship to Yulaid inside the algorithm's simulated world. I am Malkia. Yulaid daughter is my shadow. I have to infiltrate as Malkia. I somehow have to shift my consciousness inside Malkia as Rudy's daughter. I am going to divide my consciousness into multiples. One in the land of natives. This consciousness will be communicating with Malkia when she is younger, and use it as an escape route when Malkia is totally submerged into algorithm's dominance. And will take most of the time practicing ascension exercises to bring some truths inside this algorithm. I have to give him some dose to make him antisocial. Being antisocial helps him not to be attached to this system as much, not to like that world. I am going to make him love Malkia so much that he would do anything for her, even sacrificing his life for her. The procedure itself will take some time. I have to tether my consciousness into those nanoparticles. Do I remember the phrases? The phrase to come back to this reality? I told him not to sink into his avatars for more than 5 seconds. If anyone stays longer, the algorithm will detect the foreign consciousness and override their sleep cycles. I don't know what he was looking for. Let me see. Right. Well, at least Ugabi, his avatar, is in the position of power. We'll see how I can bypass the system's storyline and make them meet together. But I need a catalyst. I need a key phrase to join them. I am going to execute another avatar initiation sequence. It will be ready for a couple of years. This will be the catalyst that will cross paths between Ugabi and Yulaid. I am going to call her Anjiwai. Because Yulaid is a leader, they are going to isolate him, make him lonely. Being single is a good opportunity for him to meet with Anjiwai. But even if I make them meet, Ugabi doesn't know the whole truth. He has to stay that way so the system will not detect it. But at least if I can bring him to the rebel side, extracting him would be another easier step. I could have put something to tip him off that reality, but I don't have access to his avatar's mainframe. He is the only one who can access his avatar. These were the words of Malika, over 30 of their years ago. And these were the last memories of Yulaid as we know him. Yes, Ugabi, no sorry. Angi has the money. No, Ugabi, where is this name coming from? I have to go back to where I am in my office. The pod, what? What pod? Shipping and receiving company. My mind was in confusion. I was lost. I lost my identity. These are the early signs of algorithms colonizing its victim. The memory of who I am starting to fade away, and the fake memory starts to grow inside my mental platform. Rudy. Mr. Rudy, are you okay? Do you know who I am? My psychiatrist asked me. My name is not Rudy, my name is. I answered hesitantly. You said your name was Raleigh. You have been a farmer dealing with an infestation that was caused by catastrophic weather? She interrupted, confusing me even more. At this point, the memory of me working as Rudy started to emerge in my mind. Yes, I work as a manager for fighting the Rundlefields. I said it with a feeling of something that is underneath this reality, but I can't point my finger on it anymore. Ha ha ha, fighting your family? That is a good allegory. Why would you fight them? She interfered again, deviating my trend of thoughts. Never mind. I think my mind is a bit out of phase. I totally gave in. This was what we called an immersive mode. At this stage, the algorithm had already taken over my perception, and I have unknowingly consented for the algorithm to control my perception. You are doing very well, Mr. Rudy, very well, and I have some exciting news. I am going to sign a release form under my supervision. You may go back to work. Dr. Susan signed a release form. It was an exciting moment, because I have been in the psych ward for a while. Oh, I snapped out of my deep memories. Dr. Leshlov was talking to me. My daughter is in a coma. Angi has money. I have to talk to her and figure out how to help my daughter. End of part 5.